Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. In 2017, when the former Chief Justice David Emeritus Maraga made a ruling on the presidential petition between Raila Amolo Odinga and William Samoei Ruto, David Maraga said something that Kenyans will live to remember. And I'm not talking about the greatness of a nation. I'm talking about Maraga's assertion that election is not event. Maraga said that an election is a process, because back then those people were saying that we went, we voted, and we counted the votes, and the forms 34, I don't know what, are matching. And David Maraga said something. Elections will begin by the nomination and appointment of the IEBC commissioners. It even begins with the procurement of election materials. And I'm here to opine to you that Ruto's journey to being re-elected for the second time, or making history as the first one-term president in the history of Kenya, begins today, or rather, it begins when the candidates applied for the positions of the commissioners and the IEBC chairperson. Now today, and I know most of you have seen this, William Ruto has nominated persons to be commissioners and to be chairpersons. And this name here will forever remain in our minds and hearts. Erastus Edum Ithikon, a very difficult name there. And I want us to go to this press release that I know most of you have seen. Press release, it says nominations to the membership of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. It is notified that His Excellency the President, pursuant to Article 250(2)(b) of the Constitution and the procedures set out in Section 5, all that of the Independent Electoral Commission, has made nominations to the membership of the Commission. This presidential action follows the recommendations of the selection panel on the recruitment of nominees for the persons of chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, as transmitted on Tuesday, 6th May 25. Now I want us to look at these names. The position of a chairperson goes to Erastus Edung Ethekon. He is from Turkana. But this time around, I thought they would consider gender. I thought they would give it to a lady. All the same, Erastus is the one who married the best. But they have balanced. Now members, we have Anjeri Nderitu Nyandarua, that is Mount Kenya County. Moses Alutalala Mukiwana, Kakamega. Then we have Mary Karen Sorobit Wasingishu, that is Rift Valley. Hassan Nor Hassan O, there is a name that is very synonymous, Mandera. We have Francis Odhiambo Adul Kisumu. Then we have Fahima Arafat Abdallah. So they have tried to balance this, looking at these counties, and they were also looking at gender. Now, ladies and gentlemen, very first here we are told that Erastus is a man. First of all, he's only 48 years old, so he's not all that aged. Prior to his nomination, he has been practicing a consultant partner at the Northern Consulting Solution at his law firm, that is Ethekon and Company, advocates for 2 years. Then we are told that his career journey began as a program management specialist at the United Nations Development Program, that is UNDP. He was a program advisor at the UN agency. Then we are also told that for 3 years, Erastus worked as a program coordinator and chief technical advisor on area-based development programming in Kenya. We are also told, now in 2018, he was appointed as county attorney at the county government of Turkana, a position he held for 6 years, that is working under Nanok, and people are already complaining. Now, in terms of academic qualification, Erastus has a law degree from the University of Nairobi, postgraduate diploma in law from the Kenya School of Government, and a postgraduate certificate in implementation of international human rights treaties from the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom. And he also has attained 3 master's degrees from distinguished university based in the United Kingdom and Spain. So he spent most of his time in the United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, it was expected, and there was a lot of rumor going around, that it was either going to be the former registrar or the retired registrar of the judiciary, Anne Hamadi, or Charles Nyachai, and there were already speculations. But the panel decided that those are the names. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you, because so right now they are headed to the vetting panel at the National Assembly. I can assure you that all of them are going to pass. But I want you to watch the space, because apart from the academic qualifications, apart from the regional balance, apart from the gender balance, the question that people are asking, will they be faithful to the Constitution? That is the number one question that people are asking. Will they adhere to the Constitution? That is number one. Will they defy the usual orders from the executive? The problem that we've had with the IEBC commissioners is that they're always pocketed, because you know that in the country, the executive arm of the government pockets every independent institution. The IEBC, the I means independent. Will they remain independent as the Constitution demands? That is the question. Have we cured the problem of a bully chairman? Because in the last election, we were told that the late chairman, Wafula Chebukati, was a bully. Have we cured that? If we are not careful, this is going to be a mere formality, because there is a way the executive does his things. You can either be intimidated or compromised. You know, our law works in a manner that everything must be ratified by the president. So let me give you an example. 2 names were fronted to the president for consideration. Now he has decided that it is Erastus. In his mind, he's asking himself, or rather, William Ruto himself can tell him that, you know, I would have chosen the other person and left you out. And so just remember that I have a lot of faith in you. They will always have their personal meetings. It will start as early as the moment they have been vetted and passed by parliament. We are all human beings. I want to give you an example. William Ruto calls you, mkiwa peke yenu, na anakuambia, Mr. Chando, you know, congratulations on your appointment as the new chairperson. You know, that seat is hot. But I want to remind you, Chando, that I have faith in you. That is why I left Mr. X and nominated you. Then he will tell all the commissioners, because there were 9 of them, I think, that were fronted, and he had to choose from the lot that was given. So it is easy, he can easily tell the other commissioners that, you know, I had faith in you. I looked at you specifically, and there's a reason why I chose you. And that is where the war begins. Because between now up to 2026 or 2027, when we are going for elections, there shall be a rapport. You and I will not be in a meeting where he calls these people. They can meet secretly. I have a feeling, this is just my feeling, that if it is true that these people can be compromised, as early as now, you simply deposit, let me say, because there's a lot of money in Kenya to be wasted, you simply deposit maybe 500 million Kenya shillings each of their account. Na mnaanza mapema tu sahi. The other thing that is going to happen, these people will be launched. You know, we are in a country where, you know, government officials are launched. Uliona venye tulikuwa tunaambiwa pale ati unajua tuliwapatia Mbadi, sasa pesa inalala hapa. Watakuwa wanakuja kwa kila county. Kwanza watarudi Narok, waseme tuliwapatia. So that each and every region wataambiwa, unajua, we did this because of you guys. So Will they remain faithful to the constitution? Will they defy the executive orders? Is this team capable of giving us a free, fair, and honest election? Because in their hand lies peace and war. In 2007, people went to war because of a slight mistake from the commissioners then. And I remember Samuel Kivuitu was talking very arrogantly and very proudly. The next minute, Kenya was burning, all because of one person or a few people. And so are these people able to give a free and verifiable election where people will not go to the streets to fight? People have been given some mandate, the constitutional mandates must be very careful. Like Parliament in 2024 passed the Finance Bill 2024. Before they knew it, Gen Zs were on the streets and they were killed. So is this team able to give us an election that will not be doubted like the one that we had, where 4 commissioners disintegrated and they disowned the result of the IEBC chair? Will they be able to work free and fair without aligning to their ethnic cleavages? What will happen exactly? Because that is exactly what people are looking at. I know the balancing act was a bit delicate. They have achieved that, regional balancing, gender balancing, but I can assure you that their journey begins. There are constituencies that do not have members of parliament as a result of demise, or some of them were appointed to become ministers. That is their first litmus test. And people are going to see how they are going to manage those elections once they have been sworn in. And as things transpire, we will be able to know whether this is a credible team. Ladies and gentlemen, let us watch this space and see what is happening.